Hello, everyone. This is Crisis 169 coming to you live with Power Spectrum Internet. My gaming rig. I'm here. You're there. Let's get on to it now. First off, let's just take a shout out to my new subscribers. Got a couple already. You guys know who you are. Welcome to my channel. Hope you like what you see. I'm very raw and uncut. I don't have scripts. I don't write stuff down. I may write stuff down and talk about, but I usually add my own ad lib to it. But let's get on to it now, shall we? Woo! Now, they've been talking for many, many years, since the 90s, about will there be another gaming crash like happened in 1983? In this episode of my video, live stream, but also later on down the line, I'm going to go into not great detail, but about maybe 20 minutes, maybe less than that, about what happened in 83. Because I was only 2 years old when the crash really happened. So I wasn't cognizant enough to know what happened until maybe 87, 88. I was hearing all this talk about the gaming crash and did it crash, and I did not know. Because, when I was born, I didn't know. Even though I was 2 years old at the time, I did not know. Anyway, though. Now, what happened was the gaming crash didn't just happen because E.T. and some bad games, and that's it. That's everybody says, oh my God, E.T. killed the gaming industry. No. What killed the gaming industry back in 83 was many different factors. One, everybody started getting into the game. No pun intended. You had Prina Dog Chow, who created Chuck Dog, Chuck the Chuck Wagon, Dog Wagon. It's a game for if you send in two Pooh's purchase, two little barcodes into Prina Dog Chow, they send you a free game of Chuck the Chuck Wagon, Chase Chuck Wagon. It was a dog that chases a wagon. It was weird. But that was a Prina Dog Chow. That was a game that they created. They had a game division that created that crap. People create games in their bedrooms and their basements and go to the gas stations and pay the gas. The manager there made $20 or $30 or $50, whatever it was, have whatever they deal was to put their game on a shelf. Game sells, hey, to make some money. You get a lot of bad games come out there, and also you had good games like Mattel and Parker Brothers. Mattel, for example, would get licenses for The Empire Strikes Back and James Bond. They get the best titles, but make the worst games because they have the game divisions, but they didn't have game people who do gaming. Atari, ColecoVision, Gemini. These games, yes, they're different companies, but they had game people in them, gamers and game developers. They knew what people wanted. They want to try new ideas. When you have your Prina Dog Chow or Mattel, who's actually the place who's been made Barbie, making games now, you kind of lose a lot of credibility. You lose a lot of credibility if you create a game from a dog company. Prina Dog Chow creates a game and says, you know what? Oh, we're going to do this. Or Mattel says, yeah, we create Barbie for like 50 years. All of a sudden, we're gonna make some weird games. But they get the best games, though, like Empire Strikes Back and James Bond, but they have no way of knowing how to create a game, so they make the worst games. So, and those games don't sell. On top of that, you had way too many consoles back in 1983. You had up to 9 different consoles. 9. Think about that. 9. The only time we've seen multiple consoles would be from the Sega era. We had the Genesis. Brazil still had the Master System. The Sega CD and 32X are add-ons. I don't count those. But I would count those because they're different. But, you had almost 9 in one area. You had 6 or 7 with Sega, in the 90s. But what made the gaming crash hurt the most was all these companies got into it trying to get out. And you had too many consoles, like I said. And 2600 try to patent their console. Atari did, but couldn't. Couldn't because they used standard PC parts that were not licensed parts. They went to PCs, they probably took them out of, IBMs or whatever computers they had laying around, and they, Frankenstein, the Atari 2600. So now, the ColecoVision, for example, you can buy an adapter to play 2600 games on it. I say that again. You can buy an adapter. Back in the 80s, this was legal. You could do this. Adapter for ColecoVision or Gemini or any kind of thing going or television, and buy an adapter to play 2600 games on. That'd be like Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony say, you know what? We're gonna create adapters so all their consoles can play our games. Lawsuits would be aplenty. In today's era. Back then, in the Wild Wild West, you didn't have that because gaming was considered a fad, like the pet rock. People sold pet rocks with little eyeballs, and they sold hundreds of thousands of millions of them. They're a rock. The game industry was looked at as a pet rock. It's a game console. Not that important. Fast forward about 40 years later. No, but really understanding, what made the game industry crash wasn't just one problem. It's never one thing, folks. It's never one thing that causes any problem, anything. Titanic just didn't hit an iceberg and sink immediately. Small little hits caused water to come in. The rivets were popping. The metal was weak. So a lot of things happened to Titanic caused it to sink. It wasn't just iceberg and it went in the water. No, it didn't happen. Space shuttle in the 1986 Challenger, didn't just explode over in the air because, it exploded because, failed O-rings and different things like that. And it was too cold outside, and different things caused that kind of calamity. Hindenburg didn't come over and just burst into flames and go down. The electrical storm had a lot of gas, and the thing was like a hydrogen gas or whatever was in there that caught fire and it burned the ground. There's never one thing with anything that happens, tragically. And the gaming crash is the exact same thing. Not many things happen for one simple reason. And I think what people need to understand is we could see another gaming crash or another company bite the dust. I'm predicting that Sega themselves, that once was a console manufacturer that stood toe-to-toe with Nintendo, may be the next one that goes. Yes, their original gaming developer console manufacturer. The only one left over will be Nintendo from the old era. Think of the Wild Wild West. Think of this as the era of the Prohibition era. Because Nintendo had a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. You could make only 5 games a year. You couldn't make them for anybody else but Nintendo. So why the companies make 2 different companies, make 5 more games for Nintendo, and then make some games for Sega. Wink, wink, not knowing for sure that Nintendo knew they're the same company. So yeah, I call the Roaring 20s of Nintendo and the Sega era in the 90s the Roaring 20s. Because almost like Prohibition, and we're running around hitting, almost like going crazy. It's you had Nintendo and Sega battling out. Almost like fights breaking out in schoolyards over. I mean, literally, it was. Now you have them older. Nintendo is better off than Sega is. But Sega might get bought out by Microsoft or Sony, or real kick in the ass. Nintendo could buy them out if they really wanted to. Of course, you have Capcom game. That's not Sega. Yeah, you have Sonic anyway. But I would see them going to Nintendo because they, the Japanese company, and they put all the Sega stuff on there. But that'd be better off for them, and it could happen. So I'm thinking from the last dying era, you're going to see Sega probably bite the dust eventually. Because financially, they're not doing really well. The games they're making are not great. Namco Bandai made Eden made a game, Eden Ring, Eden Ring, sorry, Eden Ring. That is a masterpiece in some people's minds. PC players find different because the game doesn't work too well on PC right now, but PC port doesn't. But it's a masterpiece. A lot of people give it praise. Bandai Namco, I thought they went out of business 20 years ago because they got bought out by Namco and Bandai, and they changed the name 3 times and whatever. But that's how it is, folks. Now, what happened? Probably not, because there's more regulations or more checks and balances. There's more lines if you have to do a process. You do have a bad game come out. There are some bad games. Battlefield 2042, games like that, where you still have your boo boos, but the game industry could crash in a different way. Not because too many consoles or too many choices, but too many bad games could cause people to be turned off to play gaming. When you got Battlefield 2042 and you have Halo Infinite, you had Batman Dark Knight and Gotham Knight. You had so many things. Perfect Dark Zero, Halo Infinite, Rage, massive action game online only on PS3. Many games that failed to do anything but fail. Now with games like Halo Infinite and like that, different things, but you see what I'm saying though? There's many things that can happen. And many bad games keep coming out, like Ubisoft games and Assassin's Creed problems with face exploding and punched in and not rendering properly. These are codes that should be fixed in the Q&A session, and they're being released unto the masses, and people are pissed off by it, and they're not happy by it. And this is what people need to understand this. And this is why I think people need to really get a glue on the fact that, yes, you keep setting bad games, fine. They'll patch it within 4 or 5 years. That's good. But back in the 80s and 90s, patching it was not an option. The game came out or it didn't come out at all. Nintendo was nothing, not to Germany, but they were very rough when it comes to games not doing too well. You made a game on their console that didn't sell well, it was broken, you wouldn't welcome back to the head table with them. In their mind. You weren't important enough to even have a callback to even get a game on their system. It was like, look at you and kind of wave you off, because that's how Nintendo was. And Nintendo marketed their console as a toy, not a gaming system. So I think we could see Sega fall as one of the last of the dying breed. But I don't think we'll have another gaming crash like we had in '83 that just totally just wiped the market, because personal computers came in, businesses were getting better, but gaming was more or less assimilation, not something fun. So I think we could have a gaming crash again, but it won't be as dramatic as it was back in '83. I think more of a gaming crash for developers, where they're being forced to make games that work and not downloading patch and updates and firmware updates and the crap like that, updates and wasting time updates and doing a blood sacrifice update. You don't have to do all this crap. They want a game to work. It's possible. Sony does it all the time. Xbox does it occasionally. Nintendo games are pretty much one-dimensional anyway. But they work. Not all the time. The Horizon Zero Dawn has some issues. You run your boo-boos, okay? Even the best ones make boo-boos. Cyberpunk 2077 was a cluster FMS. Didn't work on last-gen consoles. But CD Projekt Red, being as they are, stuck with it. Didn't argue. Kept pumping out patches. And the game works really better now than it ever did before. But when you have many consoles generation like we have now with the Xbox and PlayStation, you're going to have issues like that with past gen consoles getting games like Cyberpunk 2077, Battlefield 2042. What else? What else? What else? Because it takes a lot of time to downgrade or take the water down the game to fit. And PC is usually called master race because it's usually one that people have the greater concept over. You can play about anything on a PC. You can play adult games, you can play kids games, you can play mature games, you can play teen games. On consoles, they have regulations they can't allow that. Different companies. So I think the gaming has gone like a snake back and forth where really if it does crash, it would be because the game industry just goes belly up on itself. But right now, when it's out doing box office hits, smash hits, and selling more than most box office movies sell, it's a good indication that it's going to be around for a while. But I would not keep buying games like Battlefield 2042 or Halo Infinite or games like that, or no Horizon Forbidden West, because by doing so, you're giving them, the developers, programmers, carte blanche to keep on making crappy games. And eventually it's going to have a problem where, what's going to be like, what? We got a serious problem here. And the problem's going to be, an issue when it comes down to the games. When you keep smacking, see, the gaming fans and wrestling fans share one thing in common. They're extremely loyal until you slap them in the face. If you slap them in the face and spit in their face, they walk away from you and they never come back. That's happened in wrestling. SW went out of business. It happened in gaming. Many game companies went out of business. THQ and so on and so on. These things happen. Once you lose your respect as your fans and treat them like they're stupid, just ATM machines that dole out money, you will always fail in the end. Doesn't matter what you think, doesn't matter what you believe, doesn't matter what you know in the world of business. If you do not respect the fans of the gaming industry, people who bust their ass work, even the ones who get mommy and daddy to go buy their consoles or computers every couple of years, doesn't matter. All these people apply. Once you disrespect the gaming community, like you disrespect the movie community with woken nonsense and the wrestling community with all that are garbage, and once you start alienating people like that, you start losing that core audience. They start shrinking and shrinking to where now Microsoft is going out and saying we have to appeal to everybody, PC, whatever, because they can't do it with Xbox alone. Xbox is not selling very well. PS5 is racking up the hits. Am I mad? No. I have an Xbox app on my computer. Who cares, right? So all I gotta do is just play. There you go. So that with Microsoft and Sony, they had to get back their fans. Sony with PS3, Xbox with the Xbox One base model. They had to fight the fans back, and both of them did because they understood how stupid they were trying to do this crap. So now, would it be another gaming crash? Not in a sense, no. But you can see small big companies fall. The Activision getting bought out by Microsoft. Bungie being bought out by Sony. You might see Sega fall. Go to Nintendo fully and be bought out by them. Who knows? You might see Ubisoft being cut in half by the big two, Microsoft and Sony. You might see these things. The landscape's changing, folks. The gaming crash is not what I'm worried about. It's a gaming takeover I'm worried about from another. You have, Stadia that's dead in the water. They're gone. That didn't even last a year. Luna is making some noise, but it's kind of treading water, a little bit of motion forward, but not going full bore crazy like a jet engine. It's going slow. They're taking our time, leaving port, trying to see what's going to happen, because they want to hit that iceberg and sink just like Stadia did. And I give them credit for that. And I give mad props for that. But yeah, guys, it's my video. Like, subscribe if you haven't already or have done already. If you have, thank you for being a subscriber. I'm going to lay down here in a little while, sleep. But yeah, you guys be out there with Gamer Tags Crisis 169 on the Xbox app, Xbox, and Steam is Crisis 16091. So Crisis 1691. See you guys later. Peace out.